Hello, hello, everybody. How are you today? How is your week? So, what are you doing this week? Any plans for the weekend? Hello, hello. I'm planning to go to my hometown to chill, mellow out. What about you? Any plans for this weekend? Do you plan to go to the seaside? Do you plan to go to some other countries, maybe abroad? I'm planning to go abroad on when is that? In August, on the 15th or something. So I'm looking forward to going abroad. I haven't been abroad, I don't know, for about 1 year and a half. So I'm really excited about that. How are you? Okay. What about you? I'm fine, really fine. Looking for. I don't have plans for the weekend. Okay, good, great. That's cool. Yeah, but in August, just relax, nothing special. I'm planning to go to LA. Oh my God, that's cool. I don't know about the American visa, uh, but I bet it's going to be great. I haven't been in to USA, so planning. I'm planning to go there. I don't know when the time's right. Okay. By the way, nobody hasn't sent me the projects. I'm going to check another group because today with us there are two groups. Just let me check. We have two intermediate groups, right? Let's just check Lena's group. Oh, so here we have my big dream. Lucky you, right? Here. Because my group hasn't sent me anything. My dream is to live in Germany. It's Maria, right? Thanks for watching this. I will try not to give up studying a lot and find more friends from Germany to speak with them. Okay, great. Some other presentations. That's great. My big dream and goal. I have a average marks at school. I need to study more and better. I don't know English perfectly. I have to study it in home. Little lazy is down this. Oh, give up this. Right. Great. What about this one? Cool. Can't be an art playing computer, wasting time, laziness. Goal can be an architect. Do my maximum, right? Study. Thanks for your attention. Good. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'm going to note the people who text and the people who send okay. Okay. Right. So the topic of today's webinar is like the continuation of the topic of the topics we spoke with you before about growth mindset, about your goals and your weaknesses, your big dreams. And today we are going to stop at the topic of self-motivation, which is quite harsh sometimes, which is quite difficult at times, difficult. So we are going to do this. So the agenda, today's agenda is a bit of an introduction to this topic. What self-motivation is, what it means to be self-motivated, what are two types of motivation, because there are actually two types of motivation. After that, we are going to watch a video to look at the nature and psychology of self-motivation. And then we are going to stop at the values, personal values of self-motivation that influence your self-motivation. Okay? And a little bit of a discussion after each block, right? So let's start. What's self-motivation? Self-motivation is the ability to drive oneself to take initiative and action to pursue goals and complete tasks. It's an inner drive to take action, to create and to achieve. It's what pushes you to keep going on tasks, especially those you are pursuing because you want to, not because someone told you to. When reaching for a big goal, self-motivation plays a key role. Making a change in your life requires persistence, and many of us find it difficult to stay motivated over time. When setting out to achieve a long-term goal, whether it's to get healthy, make a midlife career change, or realize a personal dream, the beginning is easy. You are full of vitality and determination to face the challenge. However, many of our most precious goals don't happen quickly. It takes hard work, persistence, and discipline to change your life. When results don't come as quickly as you expect, or when nothing goes right, it's natural to feel frustrated and have difficulty staying motivated. Exploring how to find motivation will provide the tools to overcome dips, develop mental toughness, resistance, right? Improve your focus on your goals and keep you on a steady path towards success. So what's self-motivation? In order to find motivation, we first need to understand what really motivation means. Motivation is simply the force driving your behavior. It's the why behind everything you do, and the reason you might take up a cause, commit to an action, or work toward a goal. Everything we do is motivated by some combination of conscious and unconscious need or desire. When we talk about self-motivation, we are going beyond basic motives. What we really mean is the ability to follow through on making a positive change in life without giving up. Self-motivation requires that you believe in yourself, stay inspired, and keep going despite setbacks. In other words, we are talking about greed. Psychologist Angela Duckworth studied the characteristics of high achievers and discovered that passion and perseverance are the key drivers of long-term success. Greed take you farther than the initial motive behind your goal after the buzz of excitement wears off. Greed takes you all the way to the finish line. So how can we learn to harness these qualities and develop the self-motivation to succeed? What do you think is the main drive of self-motivation? Although self-motivation requires a long-term view, it's important to look at what is motivating you to seek change. The more clear you are on why, the easier it will be to stay focused on the work you are doing and to create the life you want. Sometimes motives can hide in plain sight, hidden within the subconscious, telling us deep down inside that something needs to be changed. Desires can evolve, sometimes in a flash of inspiration and sometimes through self-discovery over time. So there is always the pillar and the linchpin in your success. It's being and staying motivated over time. And being and staying motivated over time is finding this why, the reason why you do this or that task, why you do it. So you have to find it. You'll have an easier time staying motivated by recognizing the motives behind your goals. Becoming aware of the motives and their source improves self-awareness while also keeping you on track toward goals that truly matter to you. You can classify the reason behind your goals into two ways. So there are two kinds of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Let's have a look. Intrinsic motivation refers to pursuing a goal based on internal factors. Rather than external rewards like money, recognition, status, intrinsically motivated people have a built-in personal reward, feelings of enjoyment, finding purpose, achieving excellence, getting pleasure from something, enjoying it, being excited because you do it, come from pursuing intrinsically motivated goals. In other words, our deepest desires, wants, and dreams come from within and drive self-motivation. Some examples of intrinsic motivation include changing habits to feel healthier, pursuing a lifelong dream to become an artist, building stronger, more meaningful relationship with other people, learning the language because you just simply like it. What heartful desires drive you to become a better person to pursue your dream? That's where you will find intrinsic motivation. What about extrinsic motivation? Extrinsic motivation relates to actions that we pursue based on external factors. In the case of extrinsic motivation, we aim to attain some kind of reward, such as money, status, good performance, and other stuff. Some examples of extrinsically motivated goals are seeking perfect grade at school, getting a promotion, getting higher salary, hitting sales goals at work, or changing your appearance just to please somebody else. That's an extrinsically motivated people. What kind of drivers lead you to work hard for tangible and measurable rewards? Those are your extrinsic motivators. There is a comment, there is my personal comment. While conducting a CELTA course for teachers, while taking, not conducting, but taking the CELTA course for teachers, we have not a single, but we have a separate input session and a practice output session on motivation. Because usually when students come to you, you need to identify this motivation. Either it's intrinsic motivation or extrinsic, because you need to concoct an academic syllabus for the person to study. That's why you need to know his motivation. And when you ask me, what student is better, intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated? Can you type in the chat box which student do you think is better and will be more successful in the academic process? Intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated? Imagine that you are a teacher, and which student would you like to take? Intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated? Can you type in the chat box? Self-motivated, it means intrinsically, Zhenya, right? Does it mean intrinsic motivation? Self-motivated too. Does it mean intrinsic motivation? Self-motivated. I don't understand. Self-motivated, is it intrinsic? Both are self-motivated. Extrinsic people, extrinsically motivated people are also self-motivated because they have inner motivation to get money. So can you please specify? Oh my God, everybody writes more self-motivated. Intrinsic and extrinsically motivated people are self-motivated, both of them. So can you please specify? Intrinsic motivation. Okay, so thanks God, Grigori wrote intrinsic motivation. Imagine that you are a teacher. I don't see another group is writing is typing in the chat. My group don't type in the chat. So I'm going to give 2 prizes to another group, sorry, because they are the most active here today. So sorry. Intrinsic motivation, right? I'm just waiting for the answer, and I'm going to answer this question because the answer is quite tricky. All of them meant intrinsic. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for letting me know. Because both are self-motivated. I'm self-motivated to get more money, right? I'm self-motivated to get pleasure. That's why there are 2 types of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic. So the answer is the following. The best student and the student who receives the best results is the student who has both, who has intrinsic and extrinsic motivation cross. And the answer, I will elaborate on my answer, because it's because of the following. Intrinsically motivated person is the person who just likes the process of learning or studying the language. First of all, I need to concoct an academic syllabus for him to study. When this syllabus finishes, there is no goal, there is no aim for this person to achieve. So he just likes, he studies, he learns something, he does something, he speaks, and he doesn't see any goal to pursue. And that is a problem, because sometimes the person just eliminates something, or he doesn't want to do something, and you need to do what he wants. And the goal is very obscure, ambiguous, and that's why the syllabus itself and the process itself becomes very vague, and it's very difficult. Of course, the person likes learning, but the process is very vague, and there is always a question: why do you do it? Another type is also very interesting type, because there is a goal, there is aim. The person is motivated to do it, but he doesn't get any pleasure, he doesn't like the process. It's very hard for him. Sometimes the person has work, has family, some other business, different problems, and it's very difficult to get pleasure from what is exhausting you. That's why the best student is the student who cross their motivations, both of these motivations. If you have extrinsic motivation, but you don't have intrinsic, please make them cross. It will help you. Find something that you get pleasure. It's not so difficult that you can think. If you don't have if you don't have extrinsic motivation, find this motivation, find some goal, have some finish line, so you have to get there. So the best students are the students who make their motivations cross. So this is my answer as a teacher to this stuff. Right. So I have a question. I have two questions for you. Can you type in the chat box the answers to this question? I just don't know how to write. Okay, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter really. Here are just two of us. Okay, I understand that here are just two of us. So are you a self-motivated person? Why or why not? Can you type in the chat box? Are you a self-motivated person? Speaking about me, I'm rather a self-motivated person, but I'm very motivated at the beginning, at the onset of doing something. But after that, I need to fuel myself with the motivation from others, with some external motivation, because I don't get any self-motivation. Nobody. It depends on my mood. I can watch very nice video on YouTube, and after that, I'm so motivated to make myself that. So motivated that. Very nice video, okay? Because so needs to have this that. So nice that I couldn't breathe. Very nice video. Right? Very nice video. Great. I'm very motivated to make myself better. Okay, good. Thanks for the answer. About others, I'm not self-motivated person. I think yes, because I motivate myself a lot. I'm self-motivated person, but without support from my parents, I won't be so motivated. Great. Thanks God you understand it. And what are your greatest motivators? What are your greatest motivation? What drives you? What drives you to achieve something? Can you type in the chat box? I guess I'm self-motivated. I'm doing things till the end without getting motivated. Are my close people. Okay, not really self-motivated. I know why I do the things I do, and I have specific plans and goals for future. A future work, my goal drives because I want it. Because I want to make myself earn big money in my future career. Great. Thanks a lot for the answers. Speaking about me, my greatest motivation are the people who are with me in my from my close circle, because I'm not very motivated by this businessman on YouTube like Cherniak or somebody. They are just saying some nonsense, and they are saying some very general things like I can say to other people like, do it, you can, you can do everything. That's not true. That that's not how it works actually. And they claimed and they professed them to be the coolest motivators in the world, but they are nothing. They are businessmen, of course. I admire people who achieved a lot, but to profess to be motivators, no, nope, thanks. You are not motivators. If it works for you, fine, but usually it doesn't work for people. They have to admire people, and they have to see people who who's gone through thick and thin, right? Are my goals and joy I get from progress? I want to prove myself that I can. Wow, Anna, it's cool. Great. So I admire people. It's my dreams. I really want them to come true because I have an idea and do everything to do it. I'm motivated. Comment on of businessman, and then I become very motivated. But not always. Yeah, I'm motivated and read some comment of business, and then I become motivated. Yeah, it works for somebody who's rich. They give really good advice. Post on Instagram, right? Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. Now, I would like you to watch a video about the psychology of self-motivation. Your task is to notice and to remember the thing that you haven't heard before and that you think is important for your self-motivation. So you have to remember the thing which you think is the most important for your self-motivation you haven't heard before. Let's go. I will open it. We won't watch it till the end. We will watch just the big part, but not till the end.
Thank you. Thank you. Beyond boundaries. What a theme, huh? Beyond. Now, when I think of boundaries, I think of rules, regulations, and restrictions. And I think of the parents and the teachers and the supervisors who hold us accountable with regard to those boundaries. Now, that's not a bad thing. I know if you're like me, I need supervisors. I need someone holding me accountable to do the right thing. But beyond boundaries is something different. I think of those leaders, those teachers, those supervisors, those parents who inspire us to go beyond the call of duty, to do more than we have to do it not because they tell us, but because we want to. I would like to share with you what the research says about how to make that happen. And not just for other people, but for yourself. Here's the deal. How can we inspire people and ourselves to be self-motivated? There's another word. It's called empowerment. You've heard that word, right? Now, the management definition of empowerment is get her done. Just get her done with fewer resources and less time. I empower you. Make it happen. I'm talking about feeling empowered. That's different. Feeling empowered is when you're self-motivated. Now, if you want to know if you feel empowered or if your child, your student, your worker feels empowered, ask them 3 questions. And if they say yes to these 3 questions, they will feel empowered. And by the way, this is not based on common sense. It's based on research. But you've all been there, so it'll feel like common sense. Question number 1, can you do it? Albert Bandura calls it self-efficacy. Do you believe you can do it? Do you have the time, the knowledge, and the training to do what we're asking you to do? If you answer yes, good. Second question, will it work? You believe that we're asking you to do the process will work. Albert Bandura calls that response efficacy, believing that the behavior will lead to the ultimate outcome. By the way, that takes education, right? We have to show them the data. We might show them some theory. We show them, teach them why this might work. I just used the word education. Earlier, I used the word training. Is there a difference? In elementary school, we call it education. Middle school, education. High school, education. College, higher education. Then you go to industry. What do you call it? Training. You have your training department. There must be a difference. Well, you know the difference. Do you want your kids to have sex education or sex training? And your kids might answer the question differently. Because you know that training means you do the behavior and you get feedback. That's powerful. Powerful. Have you ever heard this word, online training? It's an oxymoron, isn't it? I mean, training is watch the behavior. Online training, it's like plastic silverware, jumbo shrimp, legal brief, country music. I mean, it doesn't work. Okay, so if you answer yes, it will work. Third question, is it worth it? So we've had a training question, we've had an educational question. This is the motivational question. Do you believe the consequences? This is about consequences. B.F. Skinner taught us this, selection by consequences. Dale Carnegie quoted B.F. Skinner and said, from the day you were born, everything you did was because you wanted something for doing it. Consequences. Is it worth it? So you have to convince people that it's worth it. Now, by the way, if you answer yes to those 3 questions, you feel competent. Am I right? You feel competent at doing worthwhile work. You've all been there. When you feel competent at doing worthwhile work, you're more likely to be self-motivated. You've been there. No one has to be looking over you. You feel, now here's the challenge, leaders, teachers. How do you inspire people to feel competent? Well, you give them feedback. You give them recognition. You show them they are competent. Okay, I got one more, another C word. choice. Your common sense will tell you. When you believe you have a sense of autonomy, a sense of choice in what you're doing, you feel more self-motivated. B.F. Skinner taught us that too. In his book, Beyond Freedom and Dignity, way back in 1971, reading that book changed my life because I realized that I am controlled by consequences. But sometimes I don't feel controlled. When I'm working for a pleasant consequence, it feels good. It feels like I'm working to get something. When I'm working to avoid an aversive consequence, I feel controlled. That's called negative reinforcement. So here's a challenge, leaders. How do we get people to become success seekers rather than failure avoiders? First day of introductory psychology class, I teach 2 classes of 600 students. Maybe some of you have been in that class. And remember, the first day I say, how many are here to avoid failure? And 80% raise their hand. And I say, well, thanks for coming. I know you're motivated, but you're not happy campers. You probably told your friends, I got to go to class. It's a requirement. Not I get to go to class. It's an opportunity. You probably woke up to an alarm clock, not an opportunity clock. And it's all in how you see it. Really, it's all in how you see it. It's your paradigm. It's how you communicate to others and how you communicate to yourself. So Ellen Langer said in her book, Mindfulness, she said, and psychologists know, when you perceive choice, you perceive motivation. You're more motivated. So the deal is, for yourself, sit back and reflect. Be mindful of the choices you have. And talk about being a success seeker rather than a failure avoider. It's all how you talk, how you communicate to yourself and to others. I got a 4th C word, community. Powerful word. Psychologists know that social support is critical. People who perceive a sense of relatedness, a sense of connection with other people, they feel motivated and they're happier. I want to recite a poem. It's called The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox. And as I recite this poem, there's only 2 characters, a man and a lady. Put yourself in the situation. Be mindful. Think about the situation and what you would do. Okay, here we go. A woman was waiting in an airport one night with several hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book and happened to see that the man beside her, as bold as could be, took a cookie or 2 from the bag between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. She read, munched cookies, and watched the clock as the gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what to do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and he broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve and he's also rude. He didn't even show any gratitude. She'd never known when she'd been so galled. And she sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed for the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank on her seat. Then she sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair. Then the others were his. He tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So where were you where were you? Whose side were you on? Were you thinking independent or interdependent? I don't blame you if you think independent. You know, that's how we're raised. Nice guys finish last. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Got to blow your own horn. You know, independent. We come in this life of ours, dependent to others, and then we can't wait to become teenagers. You know, we're too old to do what kids do, too young to do what adults do, so then we'll do what nobody else would do to assert our independence. And some of us get stuck there. We're stuck. I'll do it myself. I don't need you. Not good. We need each other. We have to have each other's back. We need a sense of community. This independence culture that we got to move to interdependent. Okay, 4 C words that can fuel self-motivation and I think can fuel actively caring for people. Let me tell you a story to put it all together. It happened over 60 years ago. I remember it like yesterday. My parents asked me, "Hey, Scott, how'd you like to get drum lessons? How'd you like to play the drums?" Oh man, would I ever? I'm thinking of Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa. Most of you guys don't know those names, but they were the drummers. In those days, a drum was in the front of the band. They had white pearl drum sets, and I saw myself. That was my vision. I had a vision, consequences. That was my vision. And I said, yeah, I want to take drum lessons. So the teacher would bring his drum and sit next to mine. I didn't have a nice drum like this. My parents bought me a beat up old drum at an auction. And they said to me, if you get better, if your teacher tells us you're getting, they're holding me accountable. Teacher says you're getting better, we'll get you a better snare drum and then a bass drum and then some cymbals. And that was my vision. And that kept me going. Consequences. So the teacher would come in and he would show me stuff. You know, this is how.
Okay. So he will show how he managed to study how to play, to learn how to play drums. But basically, it's he said about his parents who motivated him that if he gets better, he will get new drums. That's why it was extrinsic motivation. And of course, he wanted to play. He wanted to learn how to play. So his both motivations, they crossed together. And he was very self-motivated. He became very self-motivated. Right. So it's how it works, actually. Another thing that I wanted to just let me check the, all right, as usual. Okay, well, okay, good. So we are back. The YouTube just blocks some part of the video because of the TED Talks, but still. So which tips or which pieces of advice have you got from the video by Scott Geller about self-motivation? What do you think was very useful for you for your self-motivation? Yeah, right. I know that stream unavailable. It was unavailable because of the policy rights. Because of the policy, because it's TED Talk. TED Talk doesn't like that that to be shown on YouTube. Right. The question that if the answer will be yes, this person is motivated. Right. It's a very good advice. I liked it. Ask 3 questions, and if the answer will be yes, this person is motivated enough. Okay. Right. 3 questions, right? 3 questions. 3 questions is just the masterpiece of Scott Gellam. Okay, good. Let's continue talking about self-motivation. And the next thing I would like to talk is about personal values. What's that? What are the personal values? It's the general expression what is important for you, what you value. It's a central part of who you are and who you want to be. The greatest motivation for any person is the fact that the actions you take or the things you do perfectly match with your personal values. By becoming more aware of these important factors in your life, you can use them as a guide to make the best choice in any situation. Some of life's decisions are really about determining what you value most. So let's have a look. Values are broad motivations that can serve as the basis for goals. It's proposed that values can be used to understand the motivational basis of amity goal orientation, like the friendliness of goal orientation, a pro-social goal orientation within achievement situations. It's offered, the theory is offered in today's webinar. Specifically, the results of 3 studies and a mini meta-analysis suggest that the pro-social value of benevolence is positively related to amity goal orientation and can be interpreted as the motivational basis of amity goal orientation. Power values are positively related to performance approach goal orientation. Self-direction values are positively related to mastery goal orientation, and security values are positively related to performance avoidance goal orientation. So all these are the main values that we can have in our lives. This topic of achievement goal orientations has received a great deal of research attention in the last few decades, and especially the meta-analysis covered the conducted research by Carol Dweck and her growth mindset, by the way. Goal orientation research has led to both theoretical advancements and useful advice to practitioners such as educators and managers in the quest to better understanding achievement motivation and its influence on performance in achievement situations. So, what is the achievement goal orientation? Goal orientation theory is focused on goals that are pursued or perceived by individuals in achievement situations, resulting in different patterns of cognition, affect, and behavior. The original theory portrays 2 goal orientations. The first is to develop one's competence by acquiring new skills and developing mastery in new situations, labeled as task, learning, and mastery goals. The second is the goal of demonstrating competence of avoiding exhibiting a lack of competence by seeking favorable judgments from others, labeled as ability, ego, or performance goals. Each of the goal orientations leads to different preferences within achievement situations. Individuals with a high mastery goal orientation are willing to risk erring in order to learn. erring, making mistakes, right? They also prefer to engage in new, demanding, and challenging tasks rather than repeating familiar ones. Conversely, individuals with a high performance goal orientation tend to abstain from learning opportunities in which there is a risk of erring. They therefore favor performing familiar tasks in which they feel safe, so as not to make any errors, and are reluctant to opt for difficult tasks. Mastery and performance goal orientations also differ in their emotional consequences. Mastery goal orientation elicits enjoyment, optimism, and intrinsic motivation, whereas performance goal orientation elicits helplessness, negative affect, anxiety, and stress. Another one is the Schwartz value theory. So we have two theories which explain the self-motivation issues. Values like security, self-direction convey broad life goals that are important to us in our lives. They serve as guiding principles. They compass our life to the importance which varies across individuals. Their broad nature leads them to have an overarching effect across contexts. For example, a person who values benevolence is likely to be motivated by benevolence at home, at work, with their friends, parents, etc. Values are quite stable and as such function as ongoing motivators of perceptions, attitudes, goals, and behaviors. Schwartz presented a comprehensive model of values which defines 10 broad values that form a circle according to the motivation that underlies each of them. So we can see it as the following, this circle. The circle has 4 main charts. Self-transcendence, which encompasses benevolence and universalism. Openness to change, which encompasses self-direction, stimulation, and hedonism. Conservation, which includes tradition, conformity, and security. And self-enhancement, which includes power and achievement. Okay. Every 2 adjacent values in the circle share an underlying motivation. For example, benevolence and universalism share a pro-social motivation and can be pursued simultaneously with the same pro-social goal or act. In contrast, values that emanate from opposite sides of the center of the circle are based on conflicting motivations, as the pursuit of one often hampers the pursuit of the other. The circle of values is based on 2 bipolar orthogonal dimensions. The first dimension is of openness to change versus conservation. It arrays values according to the extent to which they motivate people to be open to new ideas and experiences, versus the motivation to preserve the status quo and the certainty it provides. The second dimension is self-enhancement versus self-transcendence. It arrays values according to the extent to which they motivate people to enhance personal interests, even at the expense of others, versus the motivation to promote the welfare of others. The 10 values and their structure of relations have been established in cross-cultural research in more than 70 countries from around the world. Also, this circle is very, very general. And if you can check out the Hofstede Insight site resource, which presents you can type any culture, any nation, or any country here, and it will show the values of this country, of this culture, in their cultural setting. It will provide you the information about the values of people of this country. And of course, this circle can be somehow transformed or somehow interpreted a bit differently through these cultural lenses. Also, Schwartz identified and advocated dividing the circle in more specific or broader areas, when this in order this division to be to represent his hypothesis better. And for example, the universalism was divided into three parts. Universalism social, so it expresses the general pro-social motivation and societal concern. For example, social justice, equality, world peace, etc. This is universalism social. Another one was universalism intellect, which expresses an open-minded intellectual motivation, including specific values of broad-mindedness and wisdom. Also, there was, and the last one was universalism nature. Universalism nature expresses the motivation to protect nature and includes the specific values of protecting the environment, the world of beauty, the unity with the nature. So also he broadened somehow this circle, but we can broaden this circle to the endless amount, to the endless kind of size, which is not very practical, or what. That's why there is a Hofstede insight, which really helps to identify some of the most important values that the person has. And the last one, can you write what are three most important things for you in your life? Can you please type in the chat box what three important things are important in your life? For me, it's like my close circle of people, their relationships, the relationships with them, because having friendly relationships and having close relationships is very important. I have understood it throughout the times, over the times. The quantity is not the quantity is kind of not important at all. The quality is more important. So what about you? Having some goals, right? It's important. Having the energy, right? Having the energy and having the mental stability to achieve something, to be motivated throughout times. So it's quite family, relationship, love. Okay, good. And how do they guide you in life? How do they how they guide you in life? So thanks a lot for this webinar. Money, family, joy from life, freedom, right? Joy from life is very good. So I think that I'm ready with the list of the most active students. So the person in my group is so from the very first part of the webinar, Vlad and Masha were active. Vlad was the first time the most active person, so I will give this title to Masha Popova, right? And from another group, the person who is the most active today, I will also take into account the projects that you've sent. So, sorry. I know that Zhenya sent Masha. I'm just Anya also, it seems to me. So I think Anna Bulacoin will be the most active student today. Good. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice week. See you next time. Bye.